If you want to make some picks on your favorite sports, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game where you choose higher or lower on between 2 to 8 players and can win up to 325 times your entry. And using code ZERK when you sign up, you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. So it is time for my yearly NFL playoff prediction video. Unfortunately so though, there's no Cowboys this year. Now with it being the playoffs, guys, this is your final chance for the NFL season to check out Underdog Fantasy. And if you guys check out Underdog Fantasy right now using code ZERK, you get up to $1,000 in bonus funds and a 0.5 free pick when you guys sign up. But not just will you guys get a 0.5 free pick right now when you sign up with code ZERK. No matter what time you guys are seeing this video, if you sign up with code ZERK, you will get not only a 0.5 free pick right now, but you will also get access to all the code ZERK exclusive 0.5 specials. So make sure you guys check out Underdog for your final chance for the NFL season, and let's get into this. All right, so starting off, guys, let's get right into this. We're going to start off here on the AFC side of the NFL playoffs. As you guys can see, with the very first game, actually, of the NFL playoffs, which is on Saturday here, we have the Texans taking on the Chargers. Now, obviously so, I feel like with this matchup, one key thing you guys have to remember is kind of just how the Texans have looked in recent weeks. And the Texans, obviously, the last couple weeks, especially given that Ravens game, they have just not looked the best. They've had some unfortunate injuries, obviously, with the Tank Dell situation. Nico Collins is still Nico Collins. I personally think he is somehow even still underrated. A lot of people you talk to probably don't have him anywhere near as high as I would have him ranked. I personally think he is very much so around a top 7 to 8 wide receiver, whereas a lot of people I feel like kind of disrespect him in my personal opinion. On the other side though, we do have the Chargers, and I really feel like in this matchup, it's just a matter of the CJ Stroud, the way he's been looking has not been too great this season. He's of course hit that sophomore slump. The Chargers, J.K. Dobbins is back. He's running the ball well. The wide receivers, Quentin Johnston just ended the regular season with a monster game. We'll see if he can keep catching the balls. We'll see about that one. But Ladd McConkey is an absolute demon as well. And in this matchup, I really just feel like the Texans, they get out of the playoffs rather quickly, and I'm going to go with the Chargers to beat them. On to the Ravens and Steelers, and I particularly don't think this is going to be too close. The Steelers as well, in my personal opinion, just have not looked all that good. They truly just have not. Now, unfortunately, though, for the Ravens, they might be without Zay Flowers in this matchup, which is going to be, a bit of a problem for that offense when it comes to the wide receivers. Rashad Bateman's going to have to step it up a little bit. They don't have Deontay Johnson anymore, but Mark Andrews has been playing very good. Obviously, Derrick Henry, the run game, Lamar. I think a lot of people think this could be a close game because it is a divisional game, and divisional games do tend to be pretty close. However, I really don't think so. I think the Ravens have really been stepping it up. I think you guys saw what they can do against the Texans, and even without Zay Flowers, I truly don't think this is going to be too close of a game. I don't think Zay is going to play in this game, but even if he doesn't, I've got the Ravens here by 10 plus, if not 14 plus. I definitely have the Ravens beating the Steelers. And we've got the Bills taking on the Broncos, and I gotta say, this is actually gonna be a really good game. I'm a big fan of Bo Nix, big fan of what that offense has been able to do, and I think they're really clicking, but taking on the Bills in Buffalo, that definitely gives them an advantage. I will tell you, as someone who just went actually to a Buffalo game, that environment was crazy. That environment was definitely pretty crazy. It was there for that Jets game and was a lot of fun. But I got to say, the Bills versus Broncos, I think that the Bills are definitely going to be able to pick apart the Broncos. Now, I don't really know if they're going to be able to have that much success against the Broncos in terms of the run game with James Cook. They did basically get another week off. All of the starters didn't really play too much. James Cook did a little bit more just because he was trying to get into the end zone. But obviously, Josh Allen got a week off, and basically all the other starters did as well. Whereas the Broncos, they kind of got to beat up on some backups. And the Broncos defense has really been good at shutting down the run this year, which is why I don't think they're necessarily going to be able to beat the Broncos through the ground. But in my opinion, Josh Allen is the MVP. And you are giving Josh Allen the Broncos, which obviously have a very good pass defense as well with Patrick Surtain, but they have a lot of different weapons they can spread the ball out to, and I do think that Broncos offense is going to struggle a little bit versus that Bills D, who are going to be able to stop the top pass catchers of the Broncos. Marvin Mims, I think, actually could have a pretty good day. I think the Bills are really going to focus heavily on Courtland Sutton. Marvin Mims has been spectacular for the Broncos as a gadget player, some big-time plays. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think it's going to be decently high scoring, but I think towards the end, we're going to see the difference in between the quarterbacks, and I think the Bills, especially with that defense, are going to step it up, and Bo Nix probably seals their fate by throwing an interception at the end of the game. I'll say Bills by anywhere between 4 to 7. Kind of a large spread, you could say, but I'd say 4 to 7. I don't think it's by 3. I think it's 4 to 7. Now on to the NFC, guys. We have the Rams taking on the Vikings. And honestly, I feel like a lot of people are going to think the Vikings are going to come in here and really do some work to the Rams, which they most certainly could. However, I think it's very unfortunate for the Vikings what they just did, and what they just did was give every NFL team they could potentially face in the playoffs the game plan on how to beat them. The Lions just showed it. You don't even need to have for those premier pass rushers necessarily. You just have to fold the pocket in on Sam Darnold, get a little bit of pressure on him, and you guys saw that Lions versus Vikings game. It was absolutely pathetic. Not only that, but we did just get the Rams, who allowed all their starters basically to rest a week, and this is a rematch from earlier this year where we saw the Rams win 30-20. And in my opinion, I think the Rams handle this pretty easily as well. I think they're going to beat the Vikings. This could actually be a pretty ugly game in my opinion. This might be a repeat performance there from Darnold where he didn't look good versus the Lions, and I don't think he's going to look good versus the Rams. Next up, we have the Buccaneers taking on the Commanders, and even as a Cowboys fan, I got to say, the Commanders are obviously going to put in a big-time fight right here. The Bucs versus Commanders. I think that the run game for the Buccaneers, the Bucky Irvin is going to be working very, very efficiently. If they had Chris Godwin, I really don't know if this game necessarily is close. If they're able to air it out like they have been, and also with the run game, the way that's been picking up really since the Godwin injury, unfortunately so. But the Commanders have been looking pretty good. Jaden Daniels obviously is, I think personally, the offensive rookie of the year. I think a lot of you guys could agree with me on that he is the offensive rookie of the year. He has played very, very, very good. As for the run game with them, with Brian Robinson, not too efficient necessarily. Would they be able to take advantage of the Buccaneers there? Maybe. But Terry McLaurin has definitely been having a bit of a resurgence here, which obviously he never necessarily was bad. It's just he never had a good quarterback. And this year with Jaden Daniels, he's really been able to showcase some more of those talents. And in my personal opinion, I do think the Commanders are actually going to take this one here versus the Buccaneers. I do think it's a very close game, though. The Bucs will be able to put up points. The Commanders, though, will as well. And I could see this being a very, very close one, with maybe the Commanders having the ball last and either needing to run the ball to pick up the first down to stop the game, or a game-winning field goal in a tie game. I don't see that game being a blowout anyway. Which, by the way, I am aware that is a rematch from earlier this year in the first week of the season where the Bucs actually did kind of blow out the Commanders 37-20, but again, that's beginning of the season. Way different teams. Chris Godwin's out now. Jaden Daniels has had time to develop. I definitely think they get it done there. Next up, we have the Eagles taking on the Packers. The Packers just suffered a major loss with Christian Watson. He's going to be out for this game, and we'll see if he's able to play next year. Hopefully so. Jordan Love, we saw a little precautionary injury pull, in this last game. I don't really think that was anything too serious. And then we have the Eagles. Now, the big question with the Eagles is Jalen Hurts. He's still somehow in concussion protocol. I don't really know how. But if I had to guess, I think he's going to play in this game. It could just be, them trying to maybe mess with the Packers a little bit and kind of give information there saying, oh, he's questionable. I think he's going to play in this game, and I do think that the way that secondary is played for the Eagles with Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, as well as the run game with Saquon Barkley, I think they just pounded on him. I really do. I think Saquon's going to have a very, very good game. He got to rest up there. Didn't get to go for the NFL record, but got to rest up. I think the Eagles take this by at least 10 points. Jordan Love throws an interception as well, and that's how I have the wildcard round going. On to the divisional round, guys. We have the Ravens taking on the Bills to start off, and this is going to be a really, really good one. Ravens and Bills, Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. This is what the NFL wants to see. This absolutely, without a doubt, is what the NFL wants to see, is Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, the battle of the potential MVPs right there. And again, I do think a big thing is going to be, does Zay Flowers play? And we did see this game earlier this year as well, which it was a complete blowout. The Ravens absolutely destroyed the Bills. It was 35-10, and honestly, they just did not have an answer for Derrick Henry. And to be honest with you, in this game again, they are going to have to crowd the box. Now, I do think, like I said, the biggest factor is, does Zay Flowers play? Because if Zay Flowers doesn't play, they are going to crowd that box and absolutely make Lamar Jackson and those tight ends, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, beat them. Whereas the Bills, they don't currently, as the time recording this video, have any major, injuries offensively, whatever. So personally speaking here, guys, I think Josh Allen, I think he's going to get it done. And I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to beat the Ravens, especially if Zay doesn't play, which the wording right now, as the time recording this video, is that he's day-to-day. But for those of you guys that know Harbaugh, I don't think he's going to play this week at least. Zay Flowers isn't, and I don't know if he's going to play next week. On to the Chargers versus the Chiefs. This is one that is a divisional game again, and this could also be a very, very good game. Chargers versus the Chiefs here. Now, the Chiefs, of course, do get that bye week in there. They're able to rest up a little bit more. Isaiah Pacheco kind of been easing in a little bit, but I do think Pacheco is going to get a pretty good workload in this game here. Give Travis Kelce, who's a little bit older, a little bit more time there to kind of heal up from him. Marquise Brown, hopefully they've been getting more reps in there. But I do think the Chiefs, with Pacheco back now, with Marquise Brown out there on the offense as well, I do think they just straight up get this done. Mahomes in the playoffs at home. I don't really know how you go against him versus a divisional opponent. Gotta go with Mahomes. Then we have the Commanders taking on the Detroit Lions. And the Lions, obviously they just destroyed the Minnesota Vikings. They also are going to get that 1 week bye right there where they get to rest up people, which is kind of needed because Terrion Arnold, we saw that he was a little bit injured there. He actually got carted off. Then they said he was questionable. I did see a video of him in the locker room afterwards talking to Kirby Joseph. So I don't know if he's going to play. That would obviously be a big blow for their secondary. But Robertson played extremely well versus Justin Jefferson. And you're going to give the Lions an extra week to kind of game plan here. I don't necessarily know if anybody could go in off of the Lions bye week here and take the Lions out at home. I do think they run through the Commanders. On to the final game of the divisional round. We have the Rams taking on the Eagles, and this one would be cinema. This would be an absolute banger right here. And I think my biggest question truly is, how good is that Eagles secondary? And this is the game that would test them, right? Having Puka Nacua, having Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua is just an absolute monster. I do think that Eagles run game is obviously going to play a factor, as will the Rams in this game. This would be in Philadelphia, so you do have to give them a little bit of an edge there as well. And again, with Jalen Hurts playing, obviously at this point, he would be playing to get past the Packers. Without him, if for some reason he doesn't play in that game, which I truly do think he's going to play there, I am going to have to go ahead and, unfortunately so, even as a Cowboys fan, I'm going to be unbiased here. I have the Rams. I think Puka Nacua is going to absolutely go crazy on this secondary. Kieran Williams, Matt Stafford, I'm going to take that experience right there. I think the Rams, obviously in terms of trying to beat the Eagles, the number one thing they're going to have to do is shut down Saquon. He went crazy on them earlier this year with 255 yards in their game. They just can't allow that to happen. And I trust Sean McVay and that coaching staff enough to game plan to not let that happen again. Now on to the conference championships. We have two of the best possible matchups in my opinion. The Bills and Chiefs and the Rams and Lions. Again, you get the storybook Stafford and Jared Goff matchup again in the NFC Championship game right there to go to the Super Bowl. And then we have the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, you just can't write it better than that in my opinion there. But Bills versus the Chiefs. Obviously, the juggernauts of the AFC right there, along with the Ravens, of course. But yes, this is going to be a very, very good matchup. And in my personal opinion, I think out of all of the years where this game goes off in the playoffs, I do actually believe that between the Bills and the Chiefs here, the first year where you can surely just say that Josh Allen has really taken that extra step to not turn the ball over, whereas Patrick Mahomes has had quite a few turnovers this year, and these games are always going to be close. It's going to be a super high-scoring game, but I'm going to take the Bills in Arrowhead to beat the Chiefs and advance to the Super Bowl. After that, we do have the Rams taking on the Lions in the NFC Championship. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, I think I had my mind made up when I even started this video without a single doubt in my mind. I've been saying this probably for the past month and a half or so, maybe even 2 months. I think, especially with the fact that David Montgomery should definitely be back by then, I really don't see anybody in the NFC beating the Lions in Detroit. We have the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills taking on the #1 seed Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. And between these two teams, if you give me both of these teams with basically no injuries, hopefully so, heading into the Super Bowl here, with every player that is currently injured back in the lineups that could possibly return, of course, that is, I truly feel like, and again, I have said this for a while, I don't know how you beat the Lions anywhere. I really don't. I know their secondary is not necessarily the best, and that would be really your weapon to attack them. But as for the Buffalo Bills, the weapons that they have taking on the Detroit Lions with the way they were able to game plan around the Vikings and Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, I feel like that skill group is better than what the Bills have offensively, and especially so with that Bills defense, right? That Bills defense is good. They're not bad at all. The Lions secondary is their issue, but you can't really run the ball on them. I think the Bills are going to have to throw the ball on the Lions to beat them, and just personally saying this, I think with enough time to kind of game plan for the Bills and to really study their first matchup earlier this year where it was a complete shootout, was a really, really good game, but there was a couple of coaching decisions that obviously Dan Campbell made that just didn't really make a lot of sense, like that onside kick that I felt like was way too early, just let the Bills score a very, very quick touchdown. Ty Johnson was really the best weapon for the Bills through the air. You just can't allow him to have another receiving game like that and just slow down James Cook a little bit more. I do think the Detroit Lions are going to be the Super Bowl champions this year. Unfortunately so, my Cowboys cannot make it this far, but next year's coming. With that being said though, guys, you can let me know what you think about my Super Bowl predictions. But yes, I have the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl over the Buffalo Bills in obviously a very close game. But I do think, honestly, the Lions, this could be one of those games where maybe you do see Josh Allen throw an interception late in the game and the Lions kind of take that commanding lead. Jahmyr Gibbs has just been too good. That offense is clicking, and defensively, they really, really showed up versus the Vikings, where I expected to be a shootout, and it just straight up wasn't. That game really showed me something that I need to see from the Lions defense, especially at secondary, to feel pretty confident about them winning the Super Bowl this year. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to drop a like in the video, and of course hit that sub button down below. Make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy, use code ZERK, follow me over on Twitter for my picks, and let me know who you guys have winning the Super Bowl. If you guys enjoyed this video, check out these.